Hey guys, this is Shane and welcome to my Curator of the Laws channel. Today we're going to talk about how much money or how much profit you can potentially make selling books, selling online, how much you can make. So it's a topic that I get asked quite a bit. Had a few new potential sellers that were trying to see if they wanted to get into this. They asked this question. I thought, okay, we revisit this topic every so often, so let's do it again. So how much money can you make selling used books online? So, hey, I appreciate the view. I look forward to your feedback and comments. And as always, subscribe, especially if you find this information useful. It's the kind of content we put in there, mix it in with the hauls and other things. So subscribe. We'll keep doing it and see what happens. So with that, let's jump right in. So, if somebody's trying to decide, if they want to sell books, they're usually doing it. Some people get into it as a hobby. They've collected books. That's how I kind of got into it. It was a hobby. I started selling some books to kind of fund my habit of other collecting, and I found out that I just like the treasure hunt. So it's kind of a little side gig for me. Doing my eBay. I sell right now 100% on eBay, and probably 99% of what I sell are books. I have a mantra: if you see cool, buy cool. But at the same time, most of what I sell are books, and I sell on eBay. So there's some people that, they do Amazon, other sales channels, Etsy, Mercari, other things that, my comments and my experience is going to be eBay centric, right? But I think there's things that will apply to all the sales platforms, and people that sell primarily on Amazon or another platform, they might have a little different perspective, and they can offer that hopefully in the comments section. But I think what I have to say here will apply to multiple sales platforms. So we'll break this down into 5 or 6 things. We're going to talk about effort, sourcing, understanding a gross versus net sales, an expected net profit per book, kind of an average. And there's some inventory implications on that, and then the concept of taking this basic example for scalable income or scalable profit center. Okay, so let's touch on 6 points in this. So the first, when somebody says, how much money can I make selling books online, whether that's eBay or Amazon, the first thing you have to say is, how much effort are you willing to put into it? Like anything, just brutally honest here, you've got to put the effort in. There's fun parts of book selling, the sourcing, the stories, the experience, the treasure hunt, but there's a lot of work. You have to find the books, you have to take photographs, you have to list, you have to correspond with your customers, you have to ship, you have to do all this stuff, right? That's the work part. And finding the books is just one part of it. So if you're thinking about getting into book selling, think about, how much effort do I want to put in? Okay, number one, especially if you're wanting to do this as a income, profit income center for your financial well-being. How much effort can I and am I willing to put into this? So that's the number one thing, and it's kind of like a very subjective, intangible item for each individual person, but you need to be thinking about that if you're thinking about selling books, okay? And some of the math that we'll do going forward, okay? So the next item I'll talk about, before we get into the actual profit type numbers, is sourcing. If you are living in an area that does not have good book sourcing potentials, all right, I go to areas, I travel around the country different times, for work, for pleasure. I like to go to thrift stores and library bookstores when I travel, just to get a feel for the town, right? I see areas that books are really hard to find, and they're either hard to find or they're expensive. They're picked over, they're $3.99, $4.99 each. There's not much resale potential there. If you live in an area like that where book sourcing is difficult, then books it's going to be a hard road. You probably need to look at selling something else. But like where I am in North Alabama, I'm very fortunate. I have lots of book sources, and they're reasonably priced. If I pay $2 for a book, a hardback, I'm paying a lot, So I get a lot of books for 50 cents, a dollar, $1.50. I have lots of options. I have lots of inventory every week that I can find. On just about any time I stop, I find something. It's the rare occasion I don't stop at one of my regular places and find something, right? So if that's your case, sourcing in your area, then it's going to impact, if you don't have good book sources, it's going to impact what you can make in your profit. Doesn't matter what the numbers say or what the profitability per book is, you're just not going to get there in a big income stream if you don't have good sourcing. And that's not to say that you can't overcome that, but you need to be aware of that in your decisions. All right. So next, let's talk about the concept of a gross revenue versus net profit. Sometimes when you look at, especially on eBay, if you look at your sales, it's a pretty big number. But you have to remember that number includes fees, shipping, lots of other things. You have to take that sales number and subtract out the fees and the shipping and any taxes that were collected. eBay gives you that, for example, eBay gives you that number because that big number, because every penny that goes through, they want to charge their percentage on. But what goes into your pocket, that net profit, you have to take the shipping, you have to take all their fees, take all that out, plus your cost of goods, and get down to your net profit number. I find that when you take all that stuff out of whatever your sales proceeds are, your fees and all the shipping, all that, you're going to run about 30 to 40% of your revenue is going to be taken up in that stuff. So, that's okay. You can just be aware of it. When you're high fees or high cost, 30 or 40% to do the work, to do the business, whatever your number ends up being, and some people say, well, my fees are only like 14.55% with a basic eBay store. That's true. That's the sold fees. But if you put insertion fees, you put shipping, you put tax, all these other things that are in the revenue stream, that number climbs, right? Revenue versus your net income, net profit. All right. So with those things in mind, that's no reason not to do it. If you're paying that stuff, that means you're selling, so you're still making potentially good money off of it. But what you have to think about is, what is my net profit per book? So for me, I looked at the last quarter and the last year. In the last quarter, my net profit per book, meaning my sales price minus all my fees, my costs, everything but my federal taxes, right? Everything but those final taxes. I was making $18 to $20 a book over the quarter and the year. It was like $18.50 over the quarter. It was closer to $20 over this entire year. All right. So to me, that's a really good sustainable. I sell a lot of hardback nonfiction. That's a really sustainable and kind of my expectation of profit, average profit per book. I sell a lot of books I only make $10 off of, but then I sell those books that are $75, $80, $100. Brings that average up. So I should say my average profit per book is in that $18 to $20 range. That's a good number for you to do your math with, to just do what you can make. And that's a number we can do to say how much money you can make selling books. All right. So using that number, let's just unpack it. Let's do a little math. If I'm making $18 to $20 profit per book, everything but my taxes, that I have to pay, income tax. If I sell 10 to 12 books a week for 50 weeks, that's $10,000 profit. It'd be 10 to 12 books a week at $18 to $20 is going to get you about $200 a week. And if you say I do that for 50 weeks, take a couple weeks off or give you some padding, right? That's $10,000. That also means that to do that, 10 or 12 a week means that you're selling between 500 and 550 books a year. All right. That gives some implications on your inventory. If you want to make $10,000 a year selling books, if you can maintain a profitability of $18 to $20 a book, you need to sell 10 or 12 a week. That's going to be about 5 to 550 books a year. All right. The implications for your inventory are that you're going to need at least that many books in your inventory. The reality is you're not going to have 100% sell-through. you're going to have some books that sit on your shelf and they don't sell. So, let's just call it a 25 or 30% of your books that don't sell. The implications would be that for an $18 to $20 profit per book, making $10,000 a year, you need to sell 10 or 12 a week, and you probably need something like 700, 750 books in your inventory. All right, so that's a good basic number. If you want to make $30,000 a year selling books, just multiply that base number by 3. You need to be selling 30 to 35 books a week. That would translate to about 1,500 books, in a year that you're selling at that average profit. And then that would imply that you probably need around 2,000 books in your inventory at any given time, which goes back to how you source, the amount of time that you want to put into it, and the things that are linked together. So in a nutshell, that exact number of how much money you can make is dependent on lots of things. Your sourcing, your effort, all that feeds into it. But once you build that inventory, the potential and the math to keep in your mind is just using that good $10,000 a year example. That's a really good, reasonable thing that you can do math for your personal goals, right? And your personal expectation. The goals and the expectations, hopefully they're the same, right? You might have a goal to sell 50,000 but in a year in books, but and that's what your goal is, but that's hopefully your expectations on that are not for what you can put into it and what your inventory is. Hopefully they're not overstated, or they're not unrealistic. So, in a nutshell, if you want to do $10,000 in books a year, then just what you need to do is you need to sell 10 or 12 books a week at that $18 to $20 net profit. It's very doable. You can do this. If you want to do it, you can do it. You can scale that to whatever number you want. So, food for thought. It's not, if somebody wants to know, exactly what they can make. It's never just a straightforward black and white answer, but that gives you the maybe some talking points and some thoughts so that you can do that math for yourself, for your situation, whether it's a side gig or a complete full-time job, what you would need to put into it. So hopefully that's helpful, especially for new sellers and people that, are maybe thinking about expanding their online presence. And, it's all about just getting out there and finding good books, building inventory, and list them and selling them. So that's, and the first thing is people need to do is they just need to get started, because there's lots of reasons why not to do it. And, fear of the unknown, how do I do something? Just get started. You might make a couple of mistakes, but you'll learn, you keep it going, and before long, you'll build that inventory, and you'll be on track to make what you want to make. So that's it. Hopefully you found it useful. Again, thanks for the view. Look forward to your comments. Subscribe, and we'll keep doing it. Talk to you soon. Bye.